So, Evan Haynes, I am a product lead with the membership and strategic engagement group at the American Chemical Society. So the nature of our team is kind of how it sounds. We support and build the future of membership to ACS. We are a scientific focused membership organization with the numbers are always changing, but 150,000-ish in our community, members of various sorts and so forth. The nature of my role is I'm involved in the strategy and so forth of how we operationalize and support membership with technology, with better programming, and as much as anything, a really solid data foundation for us to operate off of and make decisions off of as well. The last thing I'll say, just in terms of introductions, so we're kind of getting back to the way that I ended up meeting you, Marco, and your colleague Hugh, and learning about Cenis. So my team lead, Tarn Carr, was at a conference, and I think bumped into one or both of you. And one of the things in her mind, certainly as well as my own, is how we can do an ever better job looking at the data that we're able to make our decisions off of. So like any other organization or association our type, we want to be data driven. We say we are, but that's always an ongoing process. And one of the things that resonated with her was just some of the flexibility and capability that I think was maybe in some of the initial conversations. And one of the things that clicked in my head initially got me interested in having these conversations is that this is quite aspirational, but I would really, just as kind of a side mission of sorts, I definitely see an opportunity for all of us in the membership and strategic engagement team to be, really kind of asking questions of the data that we have. And, I would love to see us be positioned to kind of bridge the gap and have our own hypotheses about what might be going on, see where the gaps are, see where the opportunities are, and so forth. And at the very least, be able to enter conversations with our data teams and our colleagues in other groups and areas of ACS society with, hey, this is what we see going on. Here's a nice visualization of it. Let's kind of start a conversation there versus, less data-driven methods. So that's by way of introductions, kind of. I think these are related points, but one of the things we've been over quite a bit as we've worked together is that the way that we're operationalized to visualize data is, it's not like a lot of other people in this space, but pretty static. So we have a relatively robust set of dashboards and things like that track kind of the core first and maybe second level KPIs around membership. We're not always going back and updating things as kind of our needs grow. It's just a lot of overhead to kind of get there. We'll make little tweaks, but we don't, get into kind of new areas all that often. I think that's one of the kind of big pieces in terms of, as you put it, what we're tolerating in the current case is just that there's not a lot of dynamism just because of how busy our data teams are, the scope of what I'll hasten to add that, the scope of what they're looking to support. We're one of many stakeholders there, one of many sources of data as well. So I think that's really a strong point as we were discussing what Cenis had the ability to do is really kind of bringing the data to life a bit more. I think bringing it, this is kind of a basic answer, but once we're bringing in this concept of being able to talk to the data, it adds a level. So in terms of being able to kind of explore and kind of dig in and come up with new ideas, I think that's really kind of the potential game changer is, you see what you see and so forth, but really kind of being able to ask around the edges and make connections that don't maybe show up on a set of charts and graphs. I think that's a huge opportunity. The other thing, which maybe we'll get into as well, is I've been really interested in your perspectives on I've been really interested to see that there's at least an approach that Cenis takes to kind of do checks to see, okay, hey, there might be an issue here. We're seeing a gap. take a look at this. Maybe you didn't get your data in this month, that sort of thing. That's a very real thing that we can deal with because we're integrating so many things into our data lake. With the AI features, and we got to try all these things out. But one of the things that's really interesting, it does, potentially allows two things. One, we can kind of break through silos, if we want to call that, in terms of our data and our visualizations and so forth. And we were having a conversation just the other day about some potential things coming along. I don't know if you can get into these necessarily, but being able to have move in more of an agentic way, and be able to run down things that might exist in different parts of your status instance, et cetera. The other piece is, I think, being able to derive kind of a narrative driven set of outcomes. And to me, I think we would be checking all the outputs, et cetera, but to be able to kind of move from data, dashboards, et cetera, into a narrative that can be more assistive to leadership and making decisions, and big picture, smaller picture, whatever the case may be. I think kind of closing that gap is a really potentially helpful step, and one that I'm excited for.
Yep.
You were definitely interested, I could tell, in terms of learning more, kind of diving deep and understanding where we're coming from uniquely. On the complete flip side of that, I think as well, it was really good to be able to see that you'd worked with other associations of similar scope, many with kind of similar constraints and challenges. That helped, that was kind of like a next direction of conversations and so forth. But getting relatively quickly into that and kind of seeing where the opportunities were was really helpful to ground the work we were doing, and just kind of having confidence that Cenis is in this spot, well positioned to serve associations, et cetera. I think that it's good to really kind of set a very solid foundation in terms of, okay, what are we committed to in terms of security? What are we, what does where are we able to get creative, and just kind of what our standards are there? Because I think that that's one thing that really kind of enables an association or an organization to jump in to the AI space broadly, and really kind of make some tactical decisions around, okay, what do we want to experiment with, and what versus what becomes a core part of our operations. I think those are just kind of big picture important things that kind of bridge some of the challenges that we'd had, in our engagement and so forth. But just kind of figuring out what that foundation is and where the flexibility is, that's what unlocks potential around AI, whether it's data or more broadly than that.